Hello.
Hello. Welcome to TVM Talks TV, Episode 2.
I'm Lila.
I'm Ben. This week we are discussing New Girl, the Fox classic.
Yeah, if you aren't familiar with this, I don't know why you'd be watching. New Girl it stars Zooey Deschanel, Jake Johnson.
I don't know the others.
Two other people. And the premise is that they're living in Los Angeles, and the characters Nick, Schmidt, and Winston are all living together in this loft, and they put out a Craigslist ad for a fourth roommate after one of their roommates moves out, and the person who responds to the ad is Jess Day, played by Zooey Deschanel. So she becomes the only woman living in a loft with three guys, and chaos ensues.
Yes, if you want to know what Jess is like in the show, imagine Zooey Deschanel playing anything and don't change it. Just
except for an elf.
Yeah, but we're not concerned with that.
Sorry, I had to point that out.
Good correction. It's important to let the viewers know. So, first, I figured we would discuss our favorite seasons. There are 7. I would say 2 through 4 are the best.
Even 1's pretty good.
1's pretty good.
1 through 4 are great.
Yeah, I remember first watching it. We'll get a little more into this later, but in the first season, I was like, why is Winston there? And then, like, by the middle to late second season,
Winston becomes your favorite character.
He goes from why is he here to being the best character in the whole show.
Very nuanced, but we get there. So you mentioned 1 through 4 are your favorite seasons.
Yes.
Why is that?
Okay, so this is a small thing, but it's a big deal for me. First thing I'll mention is they changed the theme song.
Sure.
Now, New Girl, in my opinion, had one of my favorite theme songs of like most of like any show. It had such a good one, and then it changed it to this weird 3-second blurb, and it was annoying. Like the original was like cute and like funny.
It was a full song.
And it was a full song, and it was memorable and choreographed.
Yeah.
But also the reasons I don't like the later seasons are like.
It gets significantly worse.
Yes, Nick has a relationship with Megan Fox, which was really strange. I don't. When I was watching it, I never felt like they really connected at all.
When Nick gains ambition, the show goes downhill.
Yeah, that shouldn't.
If I'm being honest.
The whole point is that nobody ever changes. I feel like.
You're right.
What are your favorite seasons?
Definitely the early ones as well. Season 2 has some great moments. I would say 1 through 3 are my favorites. I don't have anything that comes to mind with season 4 as like being especially memorable. Season 1, it's just really smart. The whole all of the early seasons are just really well done and really well written. And it laugh out loud moments, I would say.
Something I really like about the show is that they mix like awkward moments, but they also show some really funny one-liners.
Mostly from Nick, if honestly.
Yeah, Nick, Winston has a couple.
Schmidt.
Just
the way Schmidt talks.
All the jar scenes,
yes,
I can't find my driving moccasins.
We'll get into that.
Yes.
So do you have some favorite episodes you want to run down?
Yeah. So my top 5 are: number 5 is 5 stars for Beezus, which is the last episode of season 6. Okay. Now I know I said I don't like 1 through 4, but I thought the last episode of season 6, where it's like
I don't even remember
Jess and Nick trying to meet,
won't they?
Yeah, and they're both gonna finally confess their love, and I think they did that actually super well. And then one takes the elevator and one takes the stairs, and they keep missing each other.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And it's such a good song. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, so I really like that episode.
It's Lord.
It is
playing,
Lord.
Right?
Yeah, it is Lord.
That's such a good episode now. Okay.
Number 4, I have Landline, which is the one where they get a landline in early season 4, and Nick becomes like a secretary.
Nick is the best.
And then they get the landline, and it has a wire, and Schmidt says, "Why does it have a rope?" Which is funny but confusing to me because they know what a landline is.
Yeah. They're not they're what, in their 30s in the late 2000s.
They're familiar with a landline. And then also that's where Jess sees the British guy, Mr. Goes in You, for the first time. And she says you can't have in-office relationships. And then she sees the British guy, and he's perfect.
Yes, I remember.
And then she
this.
says, "Shut it down."
Mm-hmm.
And then that's a really good episode. It's season 4, but it's still a good one.
I remember that one. Okay.
Third, I have The Captain,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe is on your list as well, where Winston tries to set up his cat with a female cat. And then
That's such a good episode.
it's where Winston like starts to be really, really weird.
With Ferguson,
with
the cat.
Ferguson. I think the best part of the show is from when Winston gets Ferguson to when they change the theme song.
It's a clear marker of the show before Ferguson and the show after Ferguson. It's like two distinct television programs.
It's an apocalypse moment
Yeah.
in the show is when Winston steals Ferguson from his ex-girlfriend, and then he gets super weird about it. Second,
Who's played by Brenda Song for any Sweet Life of Zack and Cody
Oh,
fans.
yes.
London Tipton. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
Second, I have Eggs, mainly because that's when Nick tries to be Hemingway, and that goes in. I'll go into it later a little bit, but I think a lot of the show is about self-image and what the characters imagine themselves to be like. And Nick imagines himself to be like this rugged writer who needs like life experiences, and he's gonna drink just like Hemingway did. And then he goes to get real life experiences. He goes to the zoo with Winston. At one point, Winston says, "This is not life experience. This is procrastination at the zoo."
What season is that?
I think it's 2.
Okay.
I really like that one. And then
What did the eggs have to do with it?
that's when Cece and Jess freak out because they might be not be able to have children.
Right.
And in that episode, Winston is remarkably normal. That's
Yeah.
when Winston's still like a normal guy, which is like not as good. And then number 1, I have Menzies, which is when Jess has PMS during the job interviews.
Sure.
And then also Winston thinks he has PMS as well, which I think is like kind of, it's like it's early season 2, but I think it's the beginning of Winston being like a very weird guy.
Yes.
Just
When Winston does his puzzles, it's like all of that era of like puzzle, Ferguson, prank Winston.
yes, prank Sinatra. But Winston is like convinced he has PMS as well, along with Jess.
So
And
problematic.
I love the scene when he tells Schmidt, he's like, "Schmidt, you have to promise you won't laugh at what I'm about to say." And Schmidt's like, "Of course not. I'm not Nick. I won't laugh at you." Then Winston says, "I have PMS." Schmidt's like, "What?"
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. And then that's also the episode where Nick meets Tran.
that's an important one.
It's an important moment.
So how would you describe Tran? It's like Nick's like Tran doesn't speak. Not that we know of.
He speaks twice in the whole series.
Yeah,
I
and he
think.
only speaks to Nick through like telepathy, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's Nick's like soul guru. They take baths together.
It's the only way Nick can reveal his feelings.
Yeah.
Is-
They sit on park benches. Remember when Nick dates Tran's granddaughter?
Yes,
that's
I
a funny.
do.
That's a fun storyline.
But I think that's when Nick meets Tran, and then he has the pool scene where he holds him in the pool, and Nick has a breakthrough.
That's true.
And the only way Nick can possibly get his feelings about anything out is through a stranger who doesn't speak.
You know what? Good for Nick.
Because he's repressing all his feelings
Yeah.
so much. So what are your top 5?
All right. Well, I don't have them written down, which I just realized, but that's okay. We'll just go from memory.
All right.
I can always get my computer. So top 5 we have in no particular order. Normal, which Jess is dating Dermot Mulroney's character, also known as Mr. Fancy Pants, who's an older guy, the father of one of her students, and he has like a high up corporate kind of job and is just like whatever. And she's been like staying at his place throughout the duration of their relationship, and so he asks to like come over to the loft and like meet the guys and hang out with them, and she's very nervous because the guys are not as sophisticated. And they end up playing True American, which is a very important game throughout the tenure of the show. It's this historical drinking game where they shout like U.S. presidents' names and various scandals.
And nobody understands. Like, if you just watch the show, you can't figure it out at all.
rules. Another one of my favorites is it's called Virgins, and it's the 5 of them each tell the story of how they've like respectively lost their virginities, and it's some of them are like weird, but overall just very funny. The whole there's one really funny line where Jess was the unsurprisingly the president of the female what is it called?
I can't
It's the Gender Equality Club or something like that at her high school in Portland. and she's it's after prom, and so her and Cece each got hotel rooms with their dates, and she's with the co-president of the Gender Equality Club, and she's introducing the story, and she's like, we both asked each other to prom in the name of gender equality, and off camera Nick's like, I hate Portland. Like, just anyway, but there's one scene where she's going through, and he's like, they're like starting to like hook up sort of, and he's like, are you feeling safe? And she's like, yeah, I'm all good. He's like, are you feeling safe? Like every like step they take, and then she's like, oh my God, just do something already. And he goes, now I'm feeling unsafe. And it's just a very funny, it's really smart moment. Anyway, so then there's another episode that's called Nerd, where Nick and Jess are like officially like fully on dating.
Yeah. And
Jess is working at a school, and she's trying to fit in with like the cool teachers, which like there's always a group of like cool teachers that like even at all of my like middle school and high school. And so she's trying to fit in, and Nick suggests that she takes them to the bar that he works at. Yeah. And she like tries to like, she like buys them drinks and all this stuff, and it's just a really funny episode, but it's really cute because it shows Nick like helping her out and stuff like that. Then there's another episode featuring True American and Winston's ex-girlfriend, played by Brenda Song, called Cooler. And it's where Nick like confronts Jess about how she always interferes with his idea of coming across any sort of romantic situation, because like she always just sabotages it somehow. And so all the guys like go out to the bar, and Jess isn't allowed to come with them because Nick thinks she's gonna like ruin any sort of chance for him. And they end up running into a character played by Brooklyn Decker, and her and Brenda Song, they like meet them at the bar, and they come back to the loft and play True American. And it's just a really funny episode because it's when Nick and Jess kiss for the first time, because they're like supposed to like kiss behind the Iron Curtain, yeah. Which is like just some wall in their loft, and then they end up not doing that and like kissing later on, and it's amazing. Anyway, and then my last favorite episode it's called Menus, and it's a lot of Jess's students, for some reason they live in Los Angeles, have never seen the ocean, and so they don't know what the ocean or the beach looks like, so she wants to bring them, and the principal's not letting her and all this stuff. And meanwhile, a weird little subplot is that this one takeout Chinese restaurant keeps giving them menus, and Jess is like, you're killing the planet. And so it's all this like conservation themed episode, I guess you could say, but it's really fun, and it ends with it's also another one where Nick is like really supportive of Jess, which is really cute. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll take a break now, and then we'll get into our favorite characters and a little bit of character analysis for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We're back with episode 2 of TVM Talks TV.
Yes, we were discussing New Girl, and I thought we would go into some analysis of the characters. And I think a big part of the show is the self-image the characters have of themselves.
Definitely. Like
Schmidt sees himself as like supposed to have great taste in everything, and he has the best clothes, and he has the nicest house. But then he finds out he has bad taste in music because he likes like EDM and stuff.
Yeah.
And he can't come to terms with that he has bad taste in something because he's supposed to have good taste. I think Nick does a similar thing when he wants to be a writer. He wants to be like Hemingway and have this like gritty vibe, even if that's not him, even if that's not the way he should go.
And then for Jess, it's very much like trying to keep up this appearance of being the like perfect do-gooder.
Yeah.
Like, teaches young children, like does everything perfectly, like kind of acts younger than her age, which is a whole other thing we could go into. And then Winston's the only one that doesn't really.
He doesn't have any image of himself. He just kind of is how he is, and he doesn't worry about how other people view him.
He does go into a few like identity crises, especially. So a little backstory, if you don't know, Winston played professional basketball in Latvia.
Yes.
And very good basketball player, and then gets injured, and then that's why he moves into the loft with the guys. And so he goes through this phase of he's only ever played basketball his whole life, and now what does he want to do? So that's the only time Winston's like trying, but he's not even trying to keep up the appearance because he acknowledges the fact that like he's not meant to be playing basketball anymore.
Yeah, while the other characters might try to keep it up. And then also when he does that, he changes the Wikipedia page so it says Latvian basketball player and loves ducks.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even like ducks that much, man. I just didn't know what to put in there. So then also something that I think is good to discuss for this show, but for shows in general, is what do you think about parents when they come into as characters in shows?
So it really depends. Like, you don't ever meet Winston or Schmidt. Do you meet Schmidt's mom?
Yeah, you meet Schmidt's mom.
That's a funny
And she's
thing.
overbearing.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And then do you meet Winston's parents?
No, Winston calls his dad in the last episode of season 6.
And then Nick's parents are a huge part of it, especially Nick's dad.
Yes.
Because Nick's dad was like a really corrupt
con man
in Chicago, and like wasn't really around for a lot of Nick's life, only like in and out. And so, but he still like really cares about his dad. But there's one part where Nick's father passes away, and so they all go back to Chicago, and it's Nick's mom is really kind of classic mom, like
she's played by Margot Martindale, who has played moms in so many movies. I know she plays the mom in the Hannah Montana movie, where she is also obsessed with Elvis, I believe.
Good. Okay, yes. Which leads me to my next point. So the rest of the loft, like, they all go back with Nick, which I think is really nice. It shows like they all care about each other, even though they give each other a really hard time. But Nick's kind of the leader of the family, which like really surprises the rest of the loft, since Nick's kind of the screw up of the loft. But Nick Kroll plays and I know
Nick's
at brother.
One point Jess can't pay her rent.
Yeah.
And she says, you're poor. And then Schmidt says, you're poorer than Nick. This has got to be rock bottom for you.
And then there's one amazing part where Jess is trying to like help Nick plan the funeral a little bit, and Nick's like, say a eulogy. She's like, I don't know, Dad. Like stuff like that. And so they needed an Elvis impersonator because that was apparently one of the wishes.
Yeah.
And Jess dresses up as Elvis and sings In the Ghetto, and it's a beautiful rendition.
It really is.
Highly recommend you all look it up. But as far as other parents, Jess's parents are played by Jamie Lee Curtis and Rob Reiner, respectively, and they're both very fun.
Yes, I like her parents. Generally in shows, I think sometimes parents can be kind of iffy. I think they can distract sometimes.
It works well with this.
But I think all the characters are good enough where it works pretty well within the show. I also remember in the episode with the wedding, they just said they needed Elvis-themed music, and Jess says, how about just Elvis? Yeah. And they're like, shut your mouth. But you're coming in here telling us how to have the funeral.
But what works well is like for this show specifically, the parents give a very nice vision of why these characters turned out the way that they did. It makes a lot of sense. I think maybe because Jess's parents the best, but it makes a lot of sense, especially Jess's mom is like exactly like Jess, just like really positive personality and like all this stuff, which is really nice.
Yeah, and then so I have a little bit of a controversial take here. A little bit. I don't like Schmidt. I think he's funny, but I wouldn't want to hang out with him. And I
think that's the point.
I think he's a bad person.
Yeah, he does a lot of things that upset people.
Yeah, and I don't remember any point in the show when he does anything nice for someone who he's not like in love with.
Yeah.
If you dropped your wallet, I don't think Schmidt would give it back to you.
Well, I disagree slightly because I think there's a lot of points where him and Nick have really good moments of friendship, and it's very clear that Schmidt cares about Nick. Like he does a lot in like sort of a boundary crossing way, but he does a lot of things that prove that he cares about Nick. I know what you mean. Like, I don't think he is a great person, but I think his funny moments like make up for it. Like, it's kind of like Barney in How I Met Your Mother. Like, you hate him, but then he does all these things that make you laugh. I don't know. But Schmidt even more so. I think Schmidt's more likable than Barney.
Yeah, probably. They are very similar characters now that I think about it. They're both like womanizers who eventually fall in love and settle down and stuff.
But I think the moments that Schmidt has that are just these one-liners that are amazing, like with the douche chart.
Yes. Yes, that
which we should
disappeared
explain.
toward the later seasons, which I think is, it's not like it's not a main reason why they weren't as good, of course, but like it's like one of the small things that I think changed in this show that. Like, I don't think there's a jar joke for, like, the last 3 seasons, and I think that was, like, one of the best bits.
For those who don't know, the douche jar refers to whenever Schmidt says something douche-worthy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, such as calling just his lesbian gynecologist friend Virginius, I believe, was a douche.
Oh, that's a good one. And also when he refers to chutney as chutney or says that he needs to get his driving moccasins or refuses to take off a kimono. Those are all good
jar-worthy
ones.
moments. I think the first scene of the whole show is a jar. Which really
That's true. That's true.
And then one last character, I think, is Winston. I really like his development throughout. I mean, what do you think about when he settles down at the end?
I am happy with it because I really like...
Yeah.
So eventually Winston joins the Los Angeles Police Department. Because the whole lead up to that is really funny. He's like, I want to like look for clues and solve crimes, but like I don't want to be behind a desk. You know, I should be out in the world. And they're like, be a police officer. Like it takes him a really long time to get there
to figure out,
which is classic Winston.
Crimes.
But it's really nice because he's actually doing what he likes, which like he deserved that.
Yeah, because he's a nice guy. Weird at times.
But eventually he falls in love with his partner, who's played by Nasim Pedrad from Saturday Night Live, and I really like her because she like keeps him in check.
Yeah, she's like a very good person.
Yeah, and she's like much better at her job than Winston is, which is fun. And it leads to a good dynamic between the two of them. Yeah, and Winston needed to get over the cat. Like, the cat was the only part of his life.
He tries to set it up and have a cat bachelor party and stuff before it gets neutered. And when he's talking about it, he says, it rhymes with flutered.
Yeah, and he cares too much about the cat.
Too much about Ferguson. Because he needed something in his life to care about, and then she kind of takes that place.
But what's nice about this show in particular, is... even though all the characters screw up and have bad moments, they're all in all really likable, which is part of what makes the show work, aside from being very genuinely funny. Yeah,
it's not like Seinfeld where they all stay the same the whole time. While they do keep their core components, like Schmidt stays like Schmidt, they do change and they do evolve and they do become slightly better people, which is really interesting to watch.
Anyway, but so keep giving us suggestions. We love hearing from our fans.
So the email is in the description. What we will be discussing next time will be in the description. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to let us know. Yeah. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.